Hey, Blue Table fans, it's time for another installment of How to Play 40K 6th edition, and today we're going to talk about one of the most entertaining and amazing additions to the game, which is flyers. So you got to know the rules for your flyers. We have before you, but a flyer, it's not painted, it's a Doom Scythe put out for Necrons, and here we have some poor, hapless Space Marines. Brrrr. Oh, have mercy on us, Doom Scythes. Brrrr. No! Alright, so, rule number 1. Flyers must begin the game in support. They do not start the game deployed. They are off the board. Rule number 2. Flyers and measuring. You ignore the flyer's base for purposes of measuring, except in 2 different cases. When the flyer is being assaulted, you don't go like this. You go and you see if they are within range here. So even though this guy's in front, so let's say you roll 6 inches and it's 6 inches from here to here, that is not a successful assault. You actually have to make it in contact with the base for better or for worse. Second one is when units are disembarking. So let's say this is a Night Scythe, which is a transport. The Necron warriors would disembark like this. You would put a model in contact with the base and move it up to 6 inches away, just like a transport. So you have to imagine there's a 6-inch bubble around the edge of the flyer's base, and that is the maximum range that the models can move out. Okay, these Space Marines, if they moved and ran, they can end up underneath the hull of the flyer. They just cannot move within 1 inch of its base, and they can move right under it. So a unit can actually move right underneath a flyer. They simply cannot end its movement. Oh, nope, I just misinformed you. They have to maintain the respect of 1 inch from the base of the flyer, but they can actually move underneath the flyer like this. Now, likewise, a flyer can move over enemy models, but it cannot end its movement within 1 inch of enemy models. So it could be that way, but it cannot end its movement like this, and it can't end its movement like that, because obviously there's practical reasons why you couldn't do it that way. Okay, flyers normally, unless otherwise stated, have to zoom, and a flyer that is zooming means that it has a combat speed of 18 inches and a cruising speed of 36 inches. Combat speed of 18 inches, that's what that looks like. Cruising speed of 36 inches. All right, awesome. I have my lovely wife here. So show them the board. This is an 8-foot board. So a zooming flyer has a combat speed of 18 inches, which is about that far, and a cruising speed of 36 inches, which is 3 feet. So as you can see, this is a really long ways. Also note that when a flyer comes in from reserves, it starts with the front end technically in contact with the edge of the board. So you would move 18 inches like that. So when a flyer comes on, don't let your opponent go like this. I guess just same as with all reserves, and then move 18 inches. You got to be careful of that. Also, when you're measuring ranges for shooting, just like all shooting, you measure them actually from the tip of the gun and not from the hull or the base. Press the button. Keep close. Okay, so a flyer can, before it moves, because it has a velocity. These things don't just spin around and do donuts in the air real tight like that. So before it moves, it can make a turn of up to 90 degrees. And in case you're wondering what that looks like, come on in a little closer. A 90-degree turn would be like that. And what I imagine, so let's say this flyer moves on from reserve from over here, and it goes 36 inches, right? And when you come on from reserve, you don't have to go on straight onto the board. You can, according to the rule book, come on any direction like that. So let's say it's the next turn. Now it could move 90 degrees like this and go, whatever speed that it's going to go. Flyers don't take dangerous terrain tests, and they can move right over difficult terrain. If for any reason, I don't know what the scenario could be, if they have to move less than 18 inches, then they're automatically wrecked. A flyer that goes off the table goes into what's called ongoing reserves, which means that it it automatically comes in at the beginning of the next turn. So what I imagine is, instead of this, obviously that's not what's happening. It's probably something like this. See? Isn't that cooler? So I would encourage you to make those noises and just be like, ha ha ha, da na 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 na. Wish I could do that. Okay. Yep, can't do it. I've lost my flexibility. I've lost the quad strength to stand up and protest.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. Begin. My wife is taking the camera. She's like, how much longer is this going to be? She sounds like that too.
I'm not doing this for a half an hour.
Yeah, I'm like, it's going to be a half hour. Now, here's a question. The critical thinker will have thought, what if I come on for, I don't know why you'd want to do this, what if I come on from reserve on the corner and I go 36 inches and I go right off the board again, right? Yeah, you can't do that. It's against the rules. So they beat you to the punch, nerds. Okay, another awesome thing about flyers is that they can fire up to 4 weapons, whether they moved combat or cruising speed during a turn. Also, flyers cannot tank shock or ram, so don't let your opponent go, okay, I'm going to tank shock this unit, or I'm going to ram this guy. It does not work that way, and vice versa. You can't ram a flyer, or and they also can't, well, I guess they couldn't be tank shocked, but you get it. Okay, and now here comes another giant bomb, which is awesome about flyers, is you can only shoot them with snapshots. So they are only hit on 6s if something is shooting at them. Template, small blast, and large blast weapons also completely ineffectual, cannot affect them. However, weapons with the Skyfire special rule can shoot at flyers normally. So my prediction, and this is the rumblings out there, is that Army construction will have to ignore flyers and just be like, all right, I'll just shoot them down with 6s with enough shots. And flyers usually do have pretty low armor value. In fact, I think the highest is AV 12, and they're usually AV 10 or 11. Also, flyers can't be assaulted, so guys on the ground can't assault them. Now you might say, well, Shawn, didn't you say that one of the 2 reasons you would come into or use the base would be if they're assaulting? It's because some flyers have a non-zooming mode called hover, and in which case I do believe they can be assaulted. But a flyer that's zooming, which means they are just moving really fast, like I just described to you, they cannot be assaulted. So, like a flyer's typical lifespan might move out, they might shoot, then take a turn, and then maybe another one, and you can have a thing where a flyer is doing like a square around the board, but you're talking about 4 turns of the game to do that, and that is quite some aerial acrobatic. You can also do something called an evade, which is after an enemy has rolled to hit, and presumably scored some hits against your flyer, you can choose to evade, which will give you the Jink special rule, which is a 5-up save. I do believe it's a cover save, or I think it's an invulnerable save until the following turn. However, if you do that, all of your weapons are reduced to snap fire only. Okay, quick note about missiles. A lot of flyers can have missiles, and you can only shoot 2 a turn, and they count towards your 4 weapons fireable limit. Something that's unclear in the rulebook is whether or not, let's say a flyer has more than 4 weapons, can they shoot the rest of them as snapshots? I'd imagine so, but it doesn't say specifically. There are some additional rules for damage results, which I won't go over right now, but they can immobilize, gives them locked velocity, which means they have to go at the same speed as last they were going. And also If a flyer is wrecked or explodes, then you place this. There's a method for placing this, and that does damage to a strength 10 hit with no armor saves allowed, which is oh no, I'm sorry, my bad. If a flyer crashes on these guys, they would get a strength 6 AP nothing hit. If guys are being transported on a flyer, they take a strength 10 hit, no saves allowed. So basically, if you're on a crashing flyer, it's pretty much toasty time for you. Okay, one more big thing to remember about flyers is at the beginning of each shooting phase, you decide whether or not their weapons will have the sky fire rule, and that's what they have for that turn. They can either shoot at ground units or air units. Well, is that true? No, I'm not so sure on that one. But it does they can have sky fire or not. That basically means if you have flyers, that is anti-other flyers. So there really is an additional dimension to this game now of there's what's going on the ground, and then there's what's going on in the sky above. Me personally, I would probably work in at least one flyer into your army list. 2 would be good, and then maybe as many as 4 for fun. One of the lists kind of making the rounds nowadays is the Necron Night Scythe, which is a troops choice flyer, and taking tons of those. My prediction for what that'll be called is Flying Circus. So we shall see. Oh, I've also heard Air Show. All right, well, I hope you've enjoyed, got something out of it, and you're a little bit more educated about what flyers are and what their impact can possibly be on the game. I know I am, because I'm learning these things as I go along.